The Great Northern Railway J23 class, or the LNER J50s, were a fleet of 060 tank engines that were built by the Doncaster and Gorton Works between 1913 and 1939. They were used for yard work and local goods trains around the Great Northern and LNER system, and which they were nicknamed submarines due to their long side tanks. The J51s used a boiler similar to that of the IVAT R1 OA2 steam locomotives that were used on the suburban networks of London. The prototype J51 was fitted with a superheater made by Robinson, but it was eventually removed, and due to its poor weight distribution, the locomotive was eventually rebuilt into a J50 alongside the other J51 steam locomotives. Around the 1930s, the LNER was suffering through a shortfall of medium-sized shunting locomotives, and so they decided to place an order for the J50s to be built. However, due to various financial crises and the Great Depression, no new J50s were built, with the exception of the 14 that were built by the Gorton Works, and the LNER didn't fill in for the medium-sized shunting range until the arrival of the WD Austerities and later reclassified as the LNER J94s, with a fleet of 75 being placed into service on the LNER around 1946. Even though the J50s and J51s were divided into subclasses, an original 25 more was going to be built until at least the early 1940s. However, this was cancelled in 1942, with all of the 102 members of the J50s or all be a part of British Railways in 1948. During their operations in the BR days, the engines will be allocated to different sheds around the eastern region of British Railways, in which they will be used for shunting and goods train work until their inevitable withdrawals beginning in 1958, with the last of them being withdrawn in 1963. Fortunately, for the Lucky 7, they were used as departmental stock for British Railways until the last of them was unfortunately withdrawn in 1965, when departmental locomotive number 14, or XBR 68961, was withdrawn and scrapped in September of that year. None of the J50s had survived into preservation as of today. The legacy of the J50s is fondly remembered, as in the early 1940s, Reverend Wilbert Audrey had made a push-along wooden toy of a certain blue cheeky tank engine via using a broomstick for his son, Christopher Audrey. He had plans to include this model in the Railway series as a character. However, due to some changes during the production of the second book of the Railway series, the little blue tank engine became an LBNSE RE2 and remains like this to this day. Although the model is now lost, we could still get a glimpse of what it could have been thanks to a recreated model created for the 70th anniversary of the Railway series. And the Great Northern Railway J23 classes would now be fondly remembered as one of the best shunting engines of the LNER system and a what-if scenario if our beloved blue tank engine wasn't an E2.